Hi everyone, it's Amanda Fenn. I'm one of the Career Management Center coaches, and welcome to our first Facebook Live event. We're excited that you all will be coming to Owen in a few months, and we love meeting a lot of you over the welcome weekend here in Nashville. So what we're going to do today is just give a brief introduction to our team of coaches, and then one of our coaches, Brooke Meisner, is going to share a little bit more details on the career exploration process and some things you can be doing now and resources to help you. So I'm going to introduce Emily Anderson, the director of the Career Management Center and one of our coaches. Emily.
Hello everyone, welcome. Hopefully you had a great weekend if you were here in Nashville for Welcome Weekend. We certainly enjoyed having you. Hope you had a great time. Hope you got all the information you needed. We didn't have a huge presence at Welcome Weekend. We did have one of our corporate partners, Procter & Gamble, do a couple of sessions. So for those of you that went to that, hope you enjoyed it. It was an interesting session because it was very much what you might experience when you are on campus and you see companies coming to do information sessions. So generally speaking, we have alums back or company representatives that have some connection to Vanderbilt, and they're here talking about their opportunities for MBAs. So anyway, it was a great introduction to that, and hopefully you really got some stuff out of it. I want to introduce another one of the coaches in our office, Sandy Canet, and she can say hello, and then we'll turn it over to Brooke to give you some content. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Sandy Canet, and as Emily and Amanda mentioned, I'm one of the career coaches here at the MBA program, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know many of you and excited about this series of calls that we're going to be doing to go over content. And one of the most common questions that we get for admitted students as they think about coming to Owen is, what are some of the things I can do over the summer, and what are some of the ways that I can think through different career paths that will be available to me through an MBA program. So Brooke is going to cover a lot of content. We look forward to answering your questions, and I will turn it over to him. Thanks.
All right, greetings everybody. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to getting to meet several of you in person or to talk with those of you that may have already met. So today we're going to dive into a pretty important topic. We're trying to think about which topic would be important to address first in these webinars. And the first one that we're talking about is career exploration. And I'm hoping to hit on, first off, what we mean by career exploration, kind of defining that a little bit. Because it's more than just finding a job or thinking about what it is you want to do with a job. Also talk a little bit about timeline that we'd suggest for starting to do some career exploration. Talk a little bit about what are some specific things that you can start doing. And then hopefully, in case we haven't sold any of you on why this is important, we'll talk a little about why you should be thinking about some of these steps. So that's where we're headed. So first off, when we say career exploration, like I said, I'm imagining a lot of people, what comes to mind is, hey, I should have some idea of what I want to do with my life, with my career, post-MBA. And yes, that's important. But as I'm trying to think about it, I think we need to be a bit more specific about that for it to be meaningful. So I will break it down into three steps, three sort of stages that I think you want to be thinking about. So the first stage is the one that I mentioned, having some idea of what your career goals are, why you want to head down a certain career path, and hopefully making sure that those career goals are realistic, right? There are certain careers, it'd be great to leave Owen and be a hedge fund manager. I don't mean to crash any dreams here, but that's probably not going to happen straight from your MBA. Maybe longer term, right? So when we think about this first stage, a term that we use a lot, an acronym we use a lot here is FIG. And what we mean by that is function, job function, industry, and geography. So starting to think through what that means and which of those three factors, the function, the industry, or geography, are most important to you. So starting to clarify that. So we'll kind of say that's stage one. So I think the second step in all of this career exploration is being able to not just know what this is in your mind and your heart, like, hey, this is what I want to do and this is what I want to do it, but being able to very clearly express this to other people. I know that may sound simple. It's not. It's not as easy as it may seem. It's something that you'll be doing a lot, though. You'll be doing this in interviewing. You'll be doing this in networking. I mean, heck, when you walk into Owen, some of the first days of classes, you're going to be meeting some of your classmates, and one of the things they're going to probably ask you after, who are you and what are you doing, is like, wait, so why did you come to Owen? What do you want to do? Why did you decide to leave this job that you were doing before? You want to do that career? How do you expect to get there? How are you going to make that happen? So being able to clearly, we often talk about it in terms of telling your story. If you can clearly do that, you're going to be a huge leg up, and you're going to be much further along than if you're trying to wrestle with how to clearly put that into words in a way that's meaningful for other people. So second stage. Third stage, and I think where everybody, we want to get them to head, and that's part of why we're here, is to help people be able to take that, their FIG, their career goal, being able to talk that through and explain it to other people, and then say, okay, this is where I want to go. Like, what do I concretely need to do to get there? What are the next steps that I need to start taking so that I can get to that point? Okay? So defining career exploration, hopefully those are some things you want to be thinking about. So let's talk a little bit about time frame for all of this. I think when I'm talking with a lot of students who are just coming into an MBA program, I think the frame of reference a lot of them have is the last time they were in higher education, right? Undergrad. And I think when a lot of people think about that, they're like, okay, so the first half of my time I can spend kind of exploring, and freshman, sophomore year, you don't really need to do a lot of career stuff. Maybe you think a little bit about what you want to do. And then maybe when you hit junior year, halfway through it, you get serious and maybe try to work hard to get an internship, and then senior year, you buckle down and figure out a job. So I don't think that's a helpful frame of reference when you're thinking about how to spend your time as an MBA student. Truly, some of the work that you're going to want to start doing in recruiting is going to happen even now. One of the upcoming webinars, we're going to be talking about some pre-MBA programs that even over this summer, certain employers are wanting to connect with potential candidates. And then Emily was just talking about, during Welcome Weekend, you heard from Procter & Gamble, and they basically almost did a little bit like an information session. And that's something you'll start experiencing at Owen within the first 2 weeks of class. Employers coming on campus and presenting to them, to you. And you'll have a chance to network with them, right? So starting all of this happens pretty quickly. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but this is a little bit of a timeline that we've put together. Emily created this. As you can see, this tries to map out a little bit of what things look like in your first year. And as you can see, from August through December, the first semester, if you will, or the first 2 mods that you're at Owen, there's a lot that happens. There's a lot of preparation that's going on, especially if you want to do recruiting for very specific things, like if you want to do recruiting for consulting, you want to be spending a lot of time doing case prep. If you want to do investment banking, there's a lot of function-specific prep there. So many different things are happening to prepare you for the treks that happen over fall break, and then interviewing that starts happening, and then this percentage that you can see here, this is the percentage of students who typically have an internship offer at that point in the year. So as you can see, interviewing really starts picking up in October and November, and definitely by the time you start hitting January, the bulk of students are doing interviewing. So what I'm trying to basically break this all down is, please start these things now. I know the idea of doing a lot of career exploration sounds great. By the time you get to Owen, you're not going to have time for it. And I can think of just a quick story on this. I was meeting with a student the other day. He's a second-year student, great guy, have a lot of respect for him, but hasn't really seemed like he knows what he wants to do. And he came into my office just last week and he was like, hey, Brooke, I figured out what I want to do. And my heart crumbled a little bit because he wanted to do a career path that if he would have started it a year ago, we would have been able to have a lot more options. If he would have started 2 years ago, we've had way more options. And we're working on it. I mean, I want to help him out as much as we can. That's what we're here to do. But it's hard because a lot of doors have already closed. And so I guess what I'm saying is, the sooner that you can start these things, the better. The more that'll help. It's not impossible if later on you want to change. But the sooner that you can kind of wrestle with some of this and start thinking about what you want to do, try it on for size, see if it fits, get feedback from other people, talk to other people who are doing these things, the better. Okay, so hopefully you can start now. And now let's talk about some things you can start doing to get the ball rolling on this. So the first thing that I would suggest doing, if you're trying to get some ideas of where you're going with career exploration and you really don't have a good place to start, one good possible place that you could start would be doing some career assessments. There's a lot of different career assessments out there, and talking with our students, I know several of them have taken things like the StrengthsFinder and the Myers-Briggs. Some of them have taken assessments in their undergraduate and their past work, and that's great. I've taken those assessments. I enjoy them. I'm glad to talk with students about them. I'm a bit of an assessment guy, something that comes with this line of work. I really encourage a lot of students to consider one of the assessments that we offer. It's called the Career Leader Assessment. As far as I know, it's the only career assessment that was built for MBAs and is very specific to that population. It's an assessment you take online. It takes about 45 minutes to complete, and we cover the cost. Once you have a Vanderbilt or a Vanderbilt Owen email address, you can go ahead and reach out to us. You can email me, brooke.meisner@owen.vanderbilt.edu, and I will send you a login. Just provide that Vanderbilt or Owen email address, and you can take it. It takes about 45 minutes, as I mentioned, and when you're done, you get the results immediately. The results are broken down into 5 parts. Actually, here's a copy of a hard copy of what you get after you've taken the assessment. It breaks down your results into a couple of categories. I'm not going to page through all of this, but just to give you a feel for it, here is an example of results for my interests. So this is business interests as the creators of the assessment defined it. So you can see things like coaching and mentoring, application of technology, managing people and teams. So a lot of good...
It's actually, we're having the mirror image of it.
Oh,
but they can get
okay. Sorry. So just hold this up to a mirror, and I'm sure it'll look great. I won't hold up too much more after that. Sorry about that. Career leader assessment can be really helpful. The part I won't show you, but probably the part that most students find helpful is business interests somewhat, work values a little bit, skills can be helpful, but the part that's really helpful is where it goes through and it lists out about 35 to 45 different job functions that are very specific to MBAs, and it says, based on your skills, your interests, and your work values, how much are you a fit with people who are existing and working in those areas for, I think it's on average about 7 years. So it's a really helpful resource. I don't think, to have realistic expectations, I don't think you're going to want to come away thinking that it's going to have all the answers for you, but at least gives you a really good place to start and can hopefully narrow things down for you. I was just meeting with a second-year student, another person who's a little bit later, and thinking about what they want to do, and he just took the assessment, and it's great. He's kind of got things narrowed down to 3 or 4 areas he really wants to focus on now. So one thing you can do is take career assessments. Another thing you can do along with that is there are some good books that you can read. Again, imagine, put this up to your mirror. Getting Unstuck is a great book. It was written by one of the authors of the Career Leader Assessment. Pretty targeted people making a career change. Last thing I'll hold up is a book written by Katherine Brooks. She's actually the director of the undergrad career center here. You majored in what? I know the title sounds a little bit like it's focused on undergraduate. The book is a little bit focused that way, but it has some great mind mapping exercises that you can do anywhere, do with your friends, and is a very kind of like, hey, blank sheet of paper, what is it you want to do, and just brainstorming from there. So those are a couple of concrete things you can do to move the needle on this. Something else that I think you really want to start doing over the summer is start to identify some employers and job postings of interest. So for some people, this may mean hop on a huge meta search engine like Indeed.com and just start typing in some keywords that really interest you. It could be skill sets. Maybe you have some job titles in mind, which is great. Maybe it's certain companies that you're thinking about or industries. And just start getting some ideas of, okay, what kinds of positions are out there in the companies you're interested in. What is a good entry-level point for someone with an MBA in a job function that you really want to pursue? and make some copies of those, or just start creating a list somewhere. Here are companies I'm interested in, here are job titles that I'm thinking about. So another thing that's pretty concrete, pretty easy to do. A third step I'll lay out for you, and this is, in my mind, far and away the most important, is starting to talk with people who are working in the companies that you're interested in or the job functions that you think you want to pursue. I know for some people this kind of networking, or we refer to it a lot as informational interviewing, can make your skin crawl. I promise it can be a little bit painful to get started on it, especially if you're on the introverted side, but it is doable, and I think it's really helpful. I think it's about the simplest way that you can try a job on for size and see if you like it, other than actually going out there and doing a given job. So basically the whole gist of this is, once you start to identify employers of interest or contacts of interest, shooting them a quick email, playing the student card, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do, letting them know that you're a student who's headed to start your MBA at Vanderbilt, and you really want to be a little bit more prepared for starting out there, and so you want to talk to them a little bit about this career field that they're in. It's a very low pressure situation. Once you tell them you're a student, they're going to probably figure out you're not selling anything, and hopefully, especially I think if you're reaching out to alumni, but either from your undergraduate university or from Vanderbilt or Owen, people will probably be pretty glad to be able to say, hey, I remember when I was in that situation, and be able to spend a little bit of time talking with you. In terms of that conversation, the best way to prepare is coming up with a couple of questions that you really want to ask, questions that are really pressing, that would be helpful for you to think about. Is this company a place that I want to work? Is this job function something that I think I would be able to do and enjoy doing? You could ask them questions about if they got an MBA or if they didn't. If they didn't, why didn't they get an MBA? If they did get an MBA, how did it prepare them? You could ask about their recruiting, how they landed in this field, how they landed with that company, why they decided to stay with that company. You could ask them a little bit about what career progression in that company looks like. If they got an MBA, I would pick their brain about, if they were going to go back and do their MBA over again, what do they wish they would have done? Certain classes they would have taken, certain case competitions, or outside of class opportunities, or certifications, or all kinds of things that you can garner from their experience. So those are some of the things that I would think about asking to make the most of those informational interviews. So in wrapping up, I'll kind of encourage some of you who may be a little thoughtful about the informational interviewing side, because like I said, I know for some people it's not the most inherently easy thing to do, and also culturally, I know that working with several of our international students, it can be really different. It can be very different to do that in the U.S. if you're coming from a country where that's not really acceptable, especially someone who's more senior than you, especially someone who has more experience than you. And if that's the case, if you are from outside the U.S., I'd encourage you to start thinking about doing some networking with some Owen or Vanderbilt alums, or at least some people who have had some experience in the U.S. and would be a little bit more comfortable saying, hey, I know that in our country, maybe this isn't as common, but I know that you did an MBA in this school, which is something you'll have in common with that person, and then use that as a leverage point to start digging in and learning more from their experience. So some other reasons to think about doing informational interviewing. We're talking about how important it is to practice telling your story. Informational interviewing is such a great way to do that. It gives you a chance to hear other people tell their stories. People who are much more experienced and have done this in the job function you probably want to pursue. But it's also a chance for you to practice telling your own story. I mentioned already, it's so much better to try out a job function through conversations than ending up saying, putting your finger down on the map and saying, hey, I'm 100% sure I want to work in brand management, going out, trying it, and then hating it. So much better if you can learn that through some conversations when the stakes are a little bit lower. Also, starting to do this informational interviewing, this is going to prepare you for the exact same networking and recruiting and interviewing that you're going to be doing down the road. In a little less pressured situation, a little less focused situation, but it's these are the same kind of conversations you're going to be having with recruiters who come to campus, and similar to a lot of the conversations you'll even have when you're doing interviews. So be thinking about that. And last, as you can tell, this is starting to build some of the contacts that you'll be using during the recruiting process. So reaching out to these people now isn't a bad thing because you'll probably be talking to them in a couple of months anyways, except at that point you'll probably be a little bit more focused because you'll be thinking about hopefully landing an internship or something like that. So hopefully I've made my case on that, and hopefully I've given you some resources. Like I said, please let me know if you're interested in taking that career leader assessment. Go ahead and send me an email, and we can get you set up with that once you have a Vanderbilt email account. So, all right, with that said, I'm going to turn it back to Amanda, and I think we can take some questions too.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Brooke. That was great. This is our first Facebook Live video, so thank you for bearing with us. I got some good tips from the comments. We'll do the mirror image correctly next time. But that was great content, and I just wanted to share that we're going to do another event on Tuesday, April 25th at the same time at noon Central. We're going to be doing a Facebook Live video on how to start turning your resume into an MBA resume. And then on May 9th at the same time, we'll be doing a session on early recruiting and what the recruiting timeline looks like. So we'll post that timeline that Brooke showed you, but we'll be doing a more in-depth video on what you can expect in the months and years ahead. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the comments. I didn't see any questions yet, but we're looking at it, so feel free to jump in. And I will also make sure we save and post this video for people who couldn't join. But it just is a great way to be able to start communicating info to you. And I see Raj's question about if you get set up with a career coach, and do we reach out to you or do you reach out to us? And the way our team works, so you've met the four of us, you're not assigned a coach. We each specialize in different areas, and we'll be introducing more about ourselves and the students we work with and how we can work with you in the coming weeks and months. But generally, we'll meet you as soon. We'll be sharing content over the next few months through emails. We're going to have a podcast series this summer where we interview current interns and alums in their jobs. That would be great for learning more about different career paths, to Brooke's point. And once you get to Owen, it's really up to you to decide which coach you'd like to work with. Again, we'll be clear about which areas we work with students in, but we're also a small program and really flexible. We all often work with multiple different students in different areas. So after that, it's really up to you how much you want to work with your CMC coach. We're always available. We spend a lot of our time meeting one-on-one with students as much as is helpful for you. So it's a great question. If anyone else, will stay on for another minute if anyone has any other questions. But you'll be hearing from us again a lot throughout the next few months, and then seeing a lot of us when you get to Owen in August. Okay, well, also, if you guys have questions or you think of something later, feel free to post them into the group, and we'll be sure to answer them. Lewis has a question. Are there any pre-MBA events we should put in our calendar? So Brooke was mentioning the I don't know if you want to jump in and talk about this for a second. I'll let Brooke talk again about some of those pre-MBA events and how we'll share them.
So I think are we talking about the pre-MBA programs more in another?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about them more in an upcoming chat. So we'll give a little bit more detail there, but if you are on the Welcome to Owen website, check that, because we're working with the admissions folks to regularly post information on the programs that we're aware of. So I think we just posted one for Bain, I think the Connect with Bain event coming up. I remember a couple of the other banks have already posted some positions. Some of the CPGs have done some as well. Consumer packaged goods companies have done some as well. So yeah, we'll be as more come out, we'll be updating that site. Also, as I'm thinking about it, talking about the career leader assessment, I'll make sure that we get the career leader assessment information on the Welcome to Owen page as well, so that you can just click there. I'll probably put two links. One will be a quick tour, so you can see what I was the real image, not mirrored image, of what I was trying to show you with the results from the assessment. And I'll also put on there the information on my email, so you can email me if you want to go ahead and take the assessment. So,
mention too about career fairs and
Yeah.
we'll be talking about the national.
Yes. So one of the other questions that came up is around the National Career Fairs, and that's something we'll be addressing in also one of the upcoming Facebook Live events. The National Career Fairs typically happen, I think the major one, National Black and Pro-Hispanic, is happening towards the end of September this year in Philadelphia. I'd hop on their website, Pro-Hispanic or National Black MBA, and be looking if you want a little bit more detail on that. It's something we encourage a lot of students to consider, so it's a good thing to do some research on. And we'll be talking a lot more about how to prepare for that in an upcoming Facebook Live. So I think I'll turn it back to Amanda.
There was one more question.
Oh,
Hey guys, one more answer, Raj, your question about a specific career path. I think it's good to have, as Brooke was saying, like start to get a sense of what you think you want to do, and the more focused you can be, the better. But at the same time, you want to come into Owen with an open mind, be open to exploring other things when you get to Owen. And I think for anyone, it's good to have a focal point and kind of narrow it down. But at the same time, and this is something we work closely with students on, it's good to have a plan B and a plan C, whether it's within the same industry or a different area within a function. So that's something we work really closely with students individually on to figure out what makes sense for you in terms of building your plan and narrowing your focus. And I just wanted to mention one more thing. I think many of the Owen women might be going to the Forte conference, which is in the middle of June. And we'll be doing, it does involve a career fair, and it's pretty structured. So we'll be sharing some more information with you who will be attending that on how to prepare for that type of career fair and how to get ready. So thank you all for joining. As I mentioned, we'll save this video so you can rewatch anything. And if you have questions that you think about in the coming hours or days, or just as you move closer to August, feel free to always post them in the Facebook group and we'll definitely answer them. So thanks all. We'll talk to you in a few weeks.